Hi sixth graders, this is your very first set of video notes with Mrs. Shawm. So our first chapter that we're going to be doing is chapter 1, and the very first lesson is going to be a review really of what you guys have already learned in 5th grade. And we're going to start with adding and subtracting multi-digit numbers. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you a couple of problems. I would very much suggest that if you are watching the video notes that maybe you copy this down onto your own notebook, so that way if you've got problems in the future and you just want to look back at how to do something, you've got your notes right there for you. Alright, so first let's start off with just an addition problem. I am going to give you a problem and I'm going to walk you through how we would set it up and how to solve it. So here we've got 1,545 plus 986. All right, so first thing you would do here is we need to stack up our numbers. And it doesn't matter which number is on top or the bottom. How I like to do it is whichever number has more digits in it, that's the one I always choose to put on top. So if I were to stack these up, I would start with 1,545. Now I just have to be careful when I stack them up that my next number has the place values lining up with my first number, which means that I kind of want to write it backwards, starting with that first number, because I want the ones place to line up in both numbers. I want the tens place to line up, and I want the hundreds place to line up. All right, so now I've got my place values lined up. One thing that I know some of you have already done in the past, and I always like to show my sixth graders, is if you want to draw some lines through your place values just to make sure you remember where you're at, that's always a great idea just so that everything lines up. All right, so now I've got my numbers stacked. Place values are lined up, so now I'm just going to add. So 5 plus 6 makes 11. So I put the number in the ones place below, and I carry the 1 for the tens place. I've got 1 plus 4, which makes 5, plus 8 makes 13. So I'm going to put the 3 down below, carry the 1, and 1 plus 5 makes 6, plus 9 makes 15. I'm going to put the 5 below, carry the 1, and 1 plus 1 is 2. All right, so my final answer there is 2,531. Sorry about that. You were just hearing little baby Nora. She wanted to make sure to introduce herself to you sixth graders. All right, so that was adding. I'm just going to show you one more, and then we'll just review subtracting really quick. So another problem here that I've got for you, 4,767 plus 1,309. All right, so again, you can choose whichever number you want to stack on top or the bottom. In this case, they both have the same number of digits, so it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to pick that first one because it's the larger of the two. And again, I need to make sure my place values line up. So the 9 is in the ones place. I need to put it underneath that last 7. And then I just kind of write my number backwards. Again, if you like the trick of just lining up your place values by drawing some lines in there, not a bad idea, just to make sure that you keep everything organized. All right, then I start adding. 7 plus 9 is 16. So I put the 6 for the ones placed down below and carry the 1. 1 plus 6 is 7, plus 0 makes 7. Nothing to carry. 7 plus 3 is 10, so I'm going to put that 0 down below, carry the 1. And 1 plus 4 plus 1 makes 6. All right, so that was for adding. Now let's just do a quick review on subtracting. All right, so same deal. I'm going to give you two numbers. First, we're going to stack them up, and then we're going to just walk through how to subtract one more time. All right, so here I've got for you first 8,903 minus 4,621. All right, now with subtracting, that's different from adding, where I told you with addition, pick whichever one you want to put on top and go from there. When you subtract, whichever number is first has to go on top. So I have to start with 8,903. I do not have a choice. Now I have to make sure my place values line up again. So again, 1 is in the ones place, and so is 3, so I'm going to line those up. And I'm just going to write my number backwards. I am going to once again draw those lines through my place values just to make sure that everything stays organized. I think when we subtract, it's a little bit more important to stay organized. All right, and especially because we're borrowing at times. All right, so 3 minus 1, I get 2. 0 minus 2, I can't do that. If the number on the top is smaller than the number underneath it, that means I have to go to the next column over and borrow by taking 1 away from it. So I take 1 away from 9 to make 8, and then I'm going to add that 1 to the 0, making not 1 but 10. I can cross it off and write 10 above. Now 10 minus 2, I can actually do that problem, and 10 minus 2 is 8. Next column I have 8 minus 6, which makes 2, and lastly 8 minus 4, which makes 4. All right, so let's try one more of those subtraction problems, and then we should be good. So here's your next problem. I have 3,928 minus 1,564. Okay, so again, in subtraction, I don't have a choice. Whichever number is first has to go on top. So I'm going to start with 3,928. I am going to subtract, make sure those place values line up. So the 4 has to go underneath the 8. And again, I write my number backwards to make sure that everything lines up. I am going to do my place value lines just to make sure I stay organized. If you don't like that, please, you don't have to do it. But this is just a great technique in case you need to keep yourself organized. All right, so I'm going to start 8 minus 4. I can do that. 8 is bigger than 4, and I have 4 left over. 2 minus 6. 2 is smaller than 6, so I can't do that problem. I'm going to go next door to the 9, cross it off. I'm going to take 1 away from it to make it into an 8. I'm going to put the 1 with the 2, which makes it a 12. All right, now 12 minus 6 I can do, which leaves me with 6 left over. Next I have 8 minus 5, which gives me 3, and 3 minus 1, which gives me 2. All right, so biggest things that we went over today in these sets of notes is, I'm just going to add it to our notes. You need to make sure you line up the place value. I said that a lot. That means the ones place has to line up with the ones, the tens with the tens. They can't be mixed around, moved around. All right, and then with subtraction, I'm just going to make a note for you. So for subtraction, first number always goes on top. Okay, all right, so what we're going to do from here, I'm going to give you a Google form. I'm going to give you a few problems to practice, and your job is to practice those problems and write your answer into the Google form, and don't use a calculator. Use the strategies that we just used here. I would suggest using a lined piece of paper of your own or any piece of paper, but do not use a calculator. Okay? All right, good luck. Email me with questions that you have.